Hey everyone, Duke here, and today we're making an updated and complete guide to legendary shards for Season of the Seraph. This video is going to be a complete guide to every way I know of in order to efficiently acquire legendary shards, preferably while doing other things you want or need to do in the game. If you're watching this video in the first few weeks after release, the Dawning is active and is a great way to get some additional legendary shards while playing the game normally. You will get cookie making materials and Essence of Dawning from completing activities and killing enemies, and by making these cookies and giving them to the various vendors, you will get Glimmer, legendary items, legendary shards, and sometimes even a gift in return, which can give even more valuable items. Make sure to use your Starfarer 7M ship throughout this event for the extra Dawning spirit, and start by making one of each cookie so that you can masterwork the oven, which will reduce the cost per cookie from 15 Essence of Dawning down to 10, allowing you to make significantly more cookies, and therefore getting way more rewards throughout the event. The playlist activities of Strikes, Gambit, and Crucible, especially during double rep weeks or double Nightfall rewards weeks, are extremely strong and easy to farm options to acquire a large number of legendary shards, as well as numerous other useful rewards. I would definitely recommend doing whichever activity is double rep if there is one active, as you get more legendary drops as well as other track rewards from leveling up in each activity, and can of course level faster when double reputation is active. Also, you should be sure to use the Prosperity Ghost mod for whatever activity you're running, as this gives you a chance to get even more legendary drops at the end of activities, which will equate to even more legendary shards. Make sure to pick up the bounties associated with each of these activities as well, as you'll want it for the XP, but also some of these bounties either give direct rep for vendors, which can then unlock more drops for you, adding up to more legendary shards, or have a drop associated with completing 8 bounties for each specific vendor, giving you yet another legendary drop as well as some Bright Dust. Next, we have Dares of Eternity. The base drops are again pretty good, but you will have the additional chance for Lightning rounds, which gives a huge amount of drops, as well as Star Horse bounties giving Paraversal hulls, which give more gear as well. And not only that, but some highly sought after weapons from Dares are now craftable and require the patterns to be crafted, which can only be received from Dares runs, as well as the keys you'll get to open the chest more often in Xur's Treasure Hoard. Catch Crash and Expedition are also both good ways to get some legendary shards and legendary drops. The start chart in the Helm also has a few extra helpful unlocks, such as Skiff Blades for an extra drop when emoting after completion of one of these activities, while Floating Debris and Magnetic Drill both will give a higher chance of Season of Plunder gear dropping. The new Heist Battlegrounds activity this season is another solid way to get legendary shards, on top of getting the new weapons and gear for this season. And as we get a little deeper into the season, Heisted Highstat and Seraphic Deep Sight bonus will give additional ways to get more legendary drops, as well as those sought after Deep Sight weapons for crafting. Another big one for this season is farming the new dungeon, Spire of the Watcher. This dungeon will give you pinnacles for each of the 3 main encounters each week, once per character, but even after that can be farmed infinitely for the new loot that it holds. This will give you all legendary drops, and the final boss actually gives 2 legendary dungeon drops each time. This gives you the benefit of getting the new weapons and gear that you may want, on top of farming for those shards that you may need by deleting any rolls that may not be up to par for what you're looking for. Do note that you can even get drops for items that you didn't get during your Pinnacle looted run, other than the exotic bow, which only has the chance to drop immediately following your first character's completion each week. Your first character completion meaning per character, so you can run this 3 times per week for 3 chances at the bow. And if you run this dungeon on Master, all of your armor drops will be Artifice armor, which contains the additional Artifice armor slot, making this an extremely strong way to get stronger gear, while also helping your shard reserves. I would recommend this more for later in the season though, due to Master Spire of the Watcher being 1610 power throughout the dungeon. If you need help or a team for this dungeon or any raid or most PvE activities, we do helps on my stream most days at twitch.tv/DukeIsCool, so come on by. We'll do what we can and try to either help you directly or definitely teach you the things you need to know in order to complete these activities. All raid challenges featured on the weekly rotating raid, especially Atrax Challenge on Deepstone Crypt Week and Templar Challenge on Vault of Glass Week, are insanely good to farm. These are infinitely farmable and will give you double drops for completing the challenges every single time. Atrax and Templar specifically can be done in just a couple of minutes, giving you 2 raid drops each time that can either be useful as very strong gear to have and use, or dismantled for legendary shards if the roll isn't what you're looking for. And as an added bonus, if you do Templar on Master, if you're leveled enough to do so, you have the chance to get Ascendant Shards and Ascendant Prisms, as well as a guaranteed Time Lost Fatebringer every single time. And not only this, but Deepstone Crypt now has craftable weapons, and so running some of those DSC challenges on its rotating week will give you more chances at getting the red boxes you need to craft them, and even if not, will be giving you double the legendary drops, and therefore double the legendary shards, which can be farmed to your heart's content. An additional passive way to acquire legendary shards that only requires Glimmer and can be done at any time is to purchase any of the blue Transmat effects from your collections for 1,000 Glimmer each. Most of these can be found in the earlier seasons of collections, and any of them work for this method. Every set of 3 Transmat effects that you buy can then be turned into Holiday in the Tower for a random legendary Transmat effect. Then go back into your inventory and delete this legendary Transmat effect to give you a legendary shard and 150 of your Glimmer back. And one final tip, and very, very important tip I have about legendary shards that I feel like most people just don't understand or maybe don't realize, is the concept of infusing gear and how expensive it is. I've talked about this in the past, but basically if you infuse one piece of gear, you actually need 2 pieces of gear to do this, because you're going to have the piece that you infuse up and the piece you're using as fuel that ends up getting deleted from your inventory, therefore causing you to lose that piece of gear. And not only that, but you also need an upgrade module, which is going to cost you an additional 10 legendary shards and some other important materials as well. So every single time you infuse a piece of gear up, you're going to be losing that 10 legendary shards from the upgrade module, plus an additional 4 legendary shards from the piece of gear that you're now losing in order to infuse. So it's a total of 14 legendary shards every single time you infuse one piece of gear. This can easily come out to thousands of legendary shards for those people that are infusing every single piece of gear that they get, all the way up for however many levels. And 14 legendary shards may not sound like a lot, but if you're doing this even just one time across all 8 of your gear slots, that is 112 legendary shards. And if you're leveling all of your gear slots multiple times, potentially multiple times in the same day or in the same couple play sessions, do that again, over 100 legendary shards times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. If you're doing multiple characters potentially too, easily thousands of legendary shards going down the drain, when what you could do is just save that gear, don't infuse it unless you really need to, like if you're doing something that you're really underleveled for, and then once you get to the cap of whatever the season is, then you infuse one time, and you're ending up saving a ton of legendary shards. I hope this updated guide for legendary shards in Season of the Seraph helped you get some of those legendary shards you may need and want to be able to roll for some of the legendary weapons you are looking for. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.